I feel very strongly that fear and uncertainty and frustration and difficulty with homeostasis, whether it be in the breath or in the heart rate or in the equilibrium and the sensation of balance versus dizziness in the head, or in the capacity to sleep well or to sleep at all, I see those all as opportunities. I see them as an invitation to communicate, an invitation to receive information that we may apply to our quest for our purpose in life. I see them as invitations to open a box and look at the information that is inside. And I think that there's a part of us, part of our greater self, that is beyond our human finite form in these bodies, that so badly wants us to open that box and review that information, that it will take the reins, so to speak, on the functioning that we so often take for granted and that we so often consider to be involuntary, like our breath. I think this so often takes a breath. We feel that we cannot breathe. We feel panic. Oftentimes it takes the heart rate in addition to the breath. It speeds it up so that while we feel that we cannot breathe, we also feel the rush of a heart rate that is moving so quickly that it feels like it will explode out of our chest. And, of course, dizziness follows or accompanies it. The reins of our system are taken over. I think the opportunity is listen. Listen. I have information for you. You've been asking why? Some question. The question comes in so many different forms. Why? Why did a tragedy happen in my past or yesterday? Why have I not received love in the form that I imagine it to come in? Why do I feel a stranger in this body? Why? Life, why? We all ask it in different forms. I think we receive our answer. And I think that so often we subscribe to the thought that it's not okay to feel that it must be problematic. Of course, it makes sense. It feels problematic when our physical functioning is taken over. But what if we saw it as opportunity? I've moved into reading Book 27 in my A Book a Week series. It is Training the Mind. I'd like some help with the pronunciation of this name, by Chogyam Trungpa. And I'm going to read right here one passage that can connect us to why I chose to talk about pain as an opportunity. I'm reading from page 10 here. When the external wound and the internal wound begin to meet and to communicate, then we begin to realize that our whole being is made out of one complete sore spot altogether, which is called Bodhisattva fever. That vulnerability is compassion. We really have no way to defend ourselves anymore at all. A gigantic cosmic wound is all over the place. An inward wound and an external wound at the same time. Without further ado, I'll move on to today's readings. Enjoy. Page 8. In order to rest in the nature of alaya, which is, in Sanskrit, home or abode, you need to go beyond your poverty attitude and realize that your alaya is as good as anybody else's alaya. You have a sense of richness and self-sufficiency. You can do it, and you can afford to give out as well. When you begin realizing non-existence, then you can afford to be more compassionate, more giving. A problem is that usually we would like to hold on to our territory and fixate on that particular ground. Once we begin to fixate on that ground, we have no way to give. Understanding shunyata means that we begin to realize that there is no ground to get, that we are ultimately free, non-aggressive, open. We realize that we are actually non-existent ourselves. Page 11. You have to jump into the blender. It is necessary for you to do that. Just jump into the blender and work with it. Then you will begin to feel that you are swimming in the blender. You might even enjoy it a little bit after you've been processed. So, an actual understanding of ultimate bodhicitta only comes from compassion. In other words, a purely logical, professional, or scientific conclusion doesn't bring you to that. Page 13. When we have good intentions toward ourselves, it is not because we are trying to achieve anything. We are just trying to be ourselves. As they say, we could come as we are. At that point, we have a natural sense that we can afford to give ourselves freedom. We can afford to relax. We can afford to treat ourselves better, trust ourselves more, and let ourselves feel good. The basic goodness of alaya is always there. It is that sense of healthiness and cheerfulness and naivete that brings us to the realization of relative bodhicitta. Page 14. When we begin to realize that the nature of phenomena is free from concept, empty by itself, that the chairs and tables and rugs and curtains and walls are no longer in the way, then we can expand our notion of love infinitely. There's nothing in the way. The very purpose of discussing the nature of shunyata is to provide us that emptiness so that we could fill the whole of space with a sense of affection, love without expectation, without demand, without possession. That is one of the most powerful things that the Mahayana has to contribute. The following is on page 29 in reference to the basic idea of relative bodhicitta practice and Tonglen. We give as much as we can give. We expand as much as we can expand. We have a lot to expand because we have basic goodness, which is an inexhaustible treasure. Therefore, we have nothing at all to lose, and we can receive more also. We can be shock absorbers of other people's pain all the time. Page 31. The problem with most people is that they are always trying to give out the bad and take in the good. That has been the very problem of society in general and the world altogether. But now we are on the Mahayana path, and the logic is reversed. That is fantastic, extraordinary. We are actually getting the inner scoop, so to speak, on Buddha's mind, directly and at its best. Please think of that. This practice will be extremely helpful to you, so please take it seriously. Page 33. If we begin to get hurt by being genuine, that is good. That is the level at which we are capable of exchanging ourselves for others. We begin to feel that because we are doing such genuine, honest work, we would like to invite others. It is not so much that we only want to give out our pleasure to others and bring in their pain. There's more to it than that. We want to give our genuineness out to others, and we want to invite their hypocrisy into us. That is much more than just exchanging pain for pleasure. It is the greatest way of exchanging ourselves for others. And it is needed in the world very, very badly.